Hello, good evening. This is Business Live. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Coming up over the next half hour or so, Chamber of Petroleum Consumers says directive by President Mahama for the NPA to reduce aviation fuel by 20% is quite discriminatory, favoring only a small section of the public. Mining giant AngloGold Ashanti advocates a new stability agreement with government at its Igueprim mine in Takwa. And some banks are advancing steps to secure their systems against cyber fraud and other electronic financial crimes. These are the headlines. You can get interactive with us by tweeting at Joy Business GH is our handle, by Facebooking, our page is Joy Business, and for more business news updates, log on to www.myjoyonline.com/business. We're taking a break. We come back with the details.
Business Live today is brought to you by GCB Bank.
You're welcome back. Now, in our very first story, the acting CEO of the Petroleum Commission, Theophilus Ehwering, is upbeat. The implementation of the local content law in the oil and gas industry is gaining significant grounds. During a visit to the FPSO recently, Theophilus Ehwering told Joy Business George Riafe he was happy that parts of the new vessel were fabricated by locals. He indicated the Commission is also handling the issue of remuneration and compliance by international oil companies cautiously. The visit was to familiarize themselves with the new floating vessel ahead of commercial production of crude oil, which starts next week on the Trinidad, Enyira and Ntome 10 field.
I'm very optimistic about the work we are doing. Investments are coming in. We are seeing a lot of Ghanaian businesses delivering services. A number of components of this FPSO were fabricated by Ghanaians. A few years ago, some journalists laughed when we talk about the fact that components of this facility will be built by Ghana. It's been done. So you need to have the plan, you need to be confident, and you need to find out what it takes to have the plan. But we do have.
What about remuneration? What about remuneration? Because again, I engage some people and there's a concern about what you're taking home. Where do you come in this area to ensure that whilst you also try to grow these indigenous to get in, they are better paid for what they're doing?
Well, George, that is very true. I would confirm to you that there is really an issue of disparity between some expatriate remuneration and local. Well, we won't put a magnitude here, but I think the point is this: all around the world, there is what we call expatriate premium. If there is a difference between local compensation and an expatriate compensation, and the difference is just the premium for expatriation, that is okay with us. It happens everywhere in the world. But we are realizing that beyond this, there are some disparities. And I'm telling you, we are working on it. I won't give you names of companies, but certain companies have actually gone through the process with us. And I believe, to a certain extent, we are happy that this improvement has happened in some of them. It is still happening. There are disparities. We are working on it.
Away from that, President Mahama has announced an imminent cut in the cost of aviation fuel by 20%, which may lead to cheaper air fares. The president inaugurated the newly refurbished arrival hall as well as the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority Training Center at the Kotoka International Airport on Monday. The ultra-modern hall, which is part of ongoing refurbishment of the airport, is expected to considerably ease delays usually encountered by passengers arriving in the country.
National passengers will see a marked improvement in the facilities at Arrival Hall. The floor area is a lot bigger. As many as 14 new immigration booths have been installed up from 12 to help reduce the queues. 2 new baggage carousels have also been added so that passengers now have 4 in all to process their luggage. Officials say the work, which was started in 2014, was completed ahead of the October 2016 date. President Mahama also inaugurated the new Ghana Civil Aviation Training Academy building. The edifice houses, among others, lecture theatres, offices, libraries, an air traffic control simulator, computer laboratories, a restaurant, and a 200-seating capacity conference room. There, the president announced that in the coming weeks, the National Petroleum Authority will announce a 20% reduction in the cost of aviation fuel, which is central to the operations of the airlines.
One of the complaints that I have constantly received is the one about Accra being a high point cost for aviation fuel. And so my understanding is that several airlines prefer to load up on their fuel outside Accra. And so we've consulted with the National Petroleum Authority, and the National Petroleum Authority has agreed to adjust the cost of aviation fuel and reduce it by 20%. I'm sure they'll be announcing the details shortly, but their decision is to reduce it by 20%. I'm sure this would improve the volumes that the airlines take, and it will make Ghana a preferred destination for fueling up. And I believe that will increase traffic and will also increase your internally generated funds to be able to achieve some of the magnificent, jobs that you're doing with those funds.
President Mahama also inspected construction works on the ongoing Terminal 3 building. Reporting for Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
Meanwhile, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers thinks the directive for the NPA to reduce aviation fuel by 20% is quite discriminatory, favouring only a small section of the public. According to the Chamber, the proportion of the population that travels by air is insignificant as compared to road users. It still insists petrol prices in the first window of August must go down further than the 3.5% OMCs have currently done. Executive Director of the Chamber, Duncan Amwa, spoke earlier on the marketplace.
Clearly, the President was clear in his statement that he has received concerns and complaints that Ghana's aviation fuel happens to be one of the highest in the sub-region. Let me reiterate that concern is not only for ATK or aviation turbine kerosene, for which the 20% has been struck off, and the bourgeoisies and the rich and affluent who can afford flight tickets in and around the country will be able to enjoy that 20% benefit. Today, as we speak, petroleum products, especially diesel and Argo, continue to sell for so much on our local pumps. It is indeed not only ATK that continues to sell higher in the sub-region. Today, the Nigerian prices, according to global petrol prices, prices in Benin, prices in Togo, are way lower than what Ghana is dispensing for its citizens. Yes, indeed, you will be right in saying if we are not careful, we will be reverting to the former system where prices were controlled by the government. Today, it's a deregulated market. Yesterday, we got a bit surprised that the president was not talking to the finance ministry to ensure that ATK comes down, but rather the NPA. What that means is that the NPA still has a larger control on fuel prices. And what that would also mean is that government may not be subsidizing, but reducing the cost of taxes or the levels of taxes on ATK by 20%. If that can be done for ATK, clearly we believe it can also be done for petrol and diesel, so that the larger population, like we indicated earlier, could also benefit some of these interventions. Yes, indeed, aviation fuel would also be subject to X-Ref. You add everything, you get to X-Depot, and then again, you get to the X-Pump, how much these airlines will be lifting fuel for eventually. So clearly, you would have the inbuilt taxes, you would have a couple of margins in there as far as ATK is also concerned. And we believe strongly that what the government has done with ATK now is removing some of the tax components to be able to bring prices down by.
Duncan Amwa is Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana. Now, moving on, a research and quality think tank, CATS International, says the Import and Export Regulations Bill, which will require importers of cement outside the ECOWAS region to apply for a renewable license starting this Friday, would lead to the abuse of monopoly by the GASAM and other local producers. The new law also bans the bagging of imported cement in the country. According to CATS International, a research conducted indicates that the price of cement has stabilized over the last 3 years due to competition from other players, and therefore no need to ban activities of important cement companies. Well, we have on the line the country coordinator of CATS Ghana, Apia Kusi Adomako, to throw more light on their position. Many thanks for joining us on Business Live, Mr. Adomako.
Good evening, sir, and your teaming listeners and viewers. All
right. Now, GASAM and other industry players think that the implementation of this particular regulation will protect local industries. You think otherwise. What is your reason?
I think GASAM is looking at the thing on the side of it being a producer in the market, but not also thinking about other dimension of it, which the market does not only have producers, but also has consumers in the market. And if you would recall, the prices of cement over the year, prior before 2012, used to escalating faster than even the speed of light. But within the last 3 to 4 years, the prices have stabilized, largely due to competition from other players, those who are bringing the products from Asia and some from Nigeria. And so for me, as a researcher, I sincerely believe that GASAM is kind of trying to be more overprotective of itself and not the efficiency of the market.
Now, statistics indicates that local companies alone can sustain, they have the capacity to sustain demand in the country. Don't you think it is therefore not necessary to allow importation of cement again?
I don't know where that statistics is coming from. Early this year, the Ghana Association of Cement Manufacturers came up with a release that they have in excess capacity of over 2 million tons per annum to be able to meet the market. This claim is not verified, but if you would also recall, in the past, production shortages or challenges at GASAM was easily causing the prices of cement to go up, not even the cost of the clinker or the value of the cedi. And so, though you may have the capacity, but for you to be able to function in a well competitive environment, it is also important for government to allow others to bring the product from other countries so as to be able to compel GASAM to sell at efficient price. Let me tell you, for example, recently I went to the market to buy a bed product.
Okay.
And then when I went over, I realized that those products made in Ghana by Ash Foam and Latest Foam was sold at the average price of 1,200. I got a firm in Ghana producing the same product for me at 520 Ghana cedis. And so if government had prevented another competitor into the market, it means that consumers would have no other option than to buy products which are very, very expensive. And so in a fair competitive environment, it is not appropriate for government to limit or control or even ban the importation of cement into the country. I mean, let's start taking stock of the prices of cement as soon as the airline matures, and let's see the way at which cement prices in the country will be moving.
Now, let's look at the argument of promoting employment opportunities. You don't think that the local industries, when protected, would have significant, impact on that?
Well, that argument is fairly grounded, but the fact is that we cannot protect local industries at the expense of efficiency. For example, if you are producing cement at the cost of, let's say, $5 in Ghana, and someone is also producing it at $1, it means that the one producing the cement at $5 per, let's say, 30 kilos is not using efficient means of technology. So until our firms are able to evolve innovative means of production, I think that we should not allow them to have that kind of overprotection, and then that will lead to the spike of cement prices in the country.
All right, now, before you go, what would be the direction of CATS International to help, either reverse this particular, regulation, which I hope will not be possible?
Well, I think what would be very helpful is that we should give ourselves, let's say, 2-year timeline. Government should urge the local cement manufacturers to invest in technology, retool their setup, and see how best they can produce at competitive price. For example, if Gasem is able to produce cement at, let's say, 20 Ghana cedis per 30 kilogram, and those bringing it from Asia is coming at 40 Ghana cedis, nobody will buy those products. And so the first thing that we need to do is for the local industries to invest in technology that will bring about efficiency in production, and that efficiency will lead to saving of costs on the side of both the consumer as well as the producer. That is what CATS would suggest.
Thank you very much for your time on Business Live. That was Country Coordinator of CATS International, Adumaku Kusi Beku, on talking about the decision by government to place a regulation on the importation of cement into the country. You're still live on Business Live. And moving on, the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply is pushing for new laws that will compel government to employ only professional procurement officers. The public sector has in recent years been hit by some serious procurement flaws, resulting in some serious financial loss to the state. But President of the Institute, Professor Douglas Boateng, tells Joy Business going for those who have the experience and the technical know-how can help minimize corruption in the public sector.
Professionalization is a key thing to procurement. You can't walk into a medical fraternity and then expect a prescription from a doctor who is not qualified or even recognized by the state. Procurement, any Tom, Dick and Harry can get up and say, I'm a procurement personnel. That needs to change. And hence I'm pushing also the agenda that it has to be part of the act, whereby if you are a procurement professional, you have to be recognized by the state, like a lawyer, like an accountant. Right now, anybody gets up, I'm a procurement professional. They are not procurement professionals. They are purchasers and they are buyers and they are paper pushers. And they cannot defend something which is wrong, because they are not going to lose their license to practice, and that has to change. It should have been part of the act that if to practice as a procurement professional, you need to have a certain minimum standard qualifications which the government recognizes. Unfortunately, that is not stated in the Act 63, which has been amended. So it's going to create, in my view, more confusion. And that has to change. We got to address that loophole within the new act immediately. Otherwise, this vicious cycle is going to continue. I've seen it, and I'm going to raise it as much as I can, that we have to close that loophole. A qualified person needs to be defined in the act. Who is he? It is not in the new act.
Now, some banks are advancing steps to secure their systems against cyber fraud and other electronic financial crimes. It follows last month's ATM fraud case involving 2 Bulgarians who reportedly caused a series of unauthorized withdrawals from the accounts of the victims. Experts have warned of worse cases in the years ahead unless more investments are made into the electronic system. United Bank for Africa, UBA, says it is already doing this to protect customers, especially in the use of ATMs. Head of Digital Banking Products and Services at UBA, Johnson Olakunmi, says they are embarking on initiatives to protect customers, especially in ATM transactions.
UBA is Africa's global bank, and one of the things that we take strength in is building the best risk management structures around our processes, around our systems. We operate in the US, we operate in 19 countries in Africa, we operate in the UK, and we operate in Paris as well, in France. Now, the strength we've been able to build over the years is to ensure that every of our processes meets international standards, and that is deterrent. Now, we are the first bank in Ghana to be PCI DSS certified. PCI DSS certified, which means that we have our system is certified, our processes is certified to be in line with global standard. Bank of Ghana recently requires all banks to be PCI DSS certified, but UBA had been PCI DSS certified since last year. Now, and that's why also all UBA cards are chip and PIN cards. 2-3 years ago, we actually replaced all our Mark Stripe cards with chip and PIN card in anticipation, because we take proactive actions to protect our customers. It's in our interest to be sure that customers' monies and customers' transactions with us are secured, they are processed efficiently and effectively. So we ensure that nobody loses money and that our systems are secured. Our ATMs are secured as well. We ensure that anti-skimming devices are put at all our ATMs we have.
Let's now cross over and take some international business news.